Hello! In today's Archaeoscoop, my top 3 headlines are as follows. Headline number 1 comes from North Walsham in Norfolk, where four teenage boys have come across a pillbox from the Second World War. A pillbox being like usually a concrete installation, which would have been part of a defence network, a civilian defence network, which would have slowed down, in theory, an invading force during the Second World War. The four boys were looking to make a den. I certainly have fond memories of making dens of my own when I was a child, and they came across this pillbox, a so-called elephant hut, some trenches, and also an ammo cache containing 4 live grenades which the army had to destroy. The boys, one of whom actually who was studying A-level history, also noticed graffiti and have researched some names associated with the graffiti within the pillbox. And it just sounds like a wonderful find and something that they'll probably never forget. Now, unfortunately, this particular news story, or rather the link to this news story, is via the Daily Mail, and therefore it's rather patronising. They say 4 boys have put down their computer games and have found something. So if you can overlook the slightly patronising way that this story is told, in a very sort of defending our country, it is well worth a read. So why not check it out? That's headline number 1. Headline number 2 actually comes from New Haven in Edinburgh, where the Victoria Primary School has recently been the site of a rather grim discovery, or certainly for some a grim discovery, and that is a Bronze Age burial. A man of around about 5 foot 6 inches tall has been found buried in the fetal position, along with fairly typical Bronze Age burial accoutrement. So usually like a pot which might have contained food or drink, presumably for the afterlife. Now this is really quite interesting, in so much as the school have responded very well to it. They're going to do a little project on the man that was buried essentially under their playground. But also as well, it's really good news because burials like this are really rather uncommon in that part of the world. There's a great great opportunity, a great chance to study and to learn a little bit more about Bronze Age burial practices in that part of the world. So again, a really interesting story, a burial in a playground. That's headline number 2. Headline number 3 actually comes from County Clare on the west coast of Ireland, where there's a story which is all about whether or not early Christians were as Christian as some people have previously assumed. By the early the 6th and the 7th century AD. Sorry, I'm still not quite with it. I'm still a little bit coffee. By the 6th and 7th century AD, it is assumed that people in Ireland were safely Christian, as it were. They've been Christianised. But work being done by a field school in the area is showing that perhaps actually they were holding on to some pagan practices, specifically being buried on top of earlier burial mounds, presumably a form of hedging one's bets. You know, yes, okay, the new religion, the new regime has come in, as it were, but you still hold on to some of your old, your fathers and your mothers and your grandparents' ideas, just in case. So for me, actually, this story isn't all that surprising. This is common throughout the world whenever a new religion turns up. I mean, all you need to do is look at the Viking response to Christianity, for example, or the Saxon response to Christianity. But nonetheless, this is the same sort of time in terms of history, and an interesting negotiation which is going on between different ideologies. And it sounds like work will continue on this site to unpick the story of early Christianity and how people integrated it into their lives and also into earlier so-called pagan practices. So that's headline number 3. So there you go, folks. Those are my top 3 headlines for the day. Hopefully you'll find those interesting. If you want to read those and, of course, other news stories from the past few days, all you need to do, as ever, is check the video information below. They're there for your delectation and delight. Now, before I go, I'd just like to very quickly say a get well soon to McNuts, a long-time supporter and follower of the Archaeoscoop YouTube channel. Reese and I have recently been having conversations with him, and it's become clear that he's not feeling all that well. I won't go into why or into what's going on, and I'm going to respect his privacy, but he's clearly not well. So good luck to McNuts. Hope you feel better soon. We're sending all the best vibes we possibly can your way. You may have noticed actually that often McNuts will comment on videos and get involved in discussion and in debate. So he's a very active YouTuber, and hopefully he'll be back on here as soon as possible. Anyway folks, as I say, do enjoy the news stories below. There's plenty to read and lots of really interesting additional stories in addition to the top 3 that I've chosen today. Until next time, as ever, have a great weekend. Bye bye.